All right. Here's what this is. This is impromptu, is what this is. So, after I had Robert Waters on a live episode, I'm going back trying to bring over as many employees that I can find and that are willing to come on my show, as non-professional as it clearly is, or as professional as it clearly is not, who are willing to come on. I want to piece together this Avalon Hill picture. So I'll continue to do this as I can get in contact with people and as they are willing to come on the show. I've reached out to Glenn Petrowski, who ran or runs Area, which is a ranking system, because he's got an article or two in here, and there's intrigue around Area in these issues as well. We'll talk about that. I keep patting. These are the 7 general issues that Robert worked on. So I'm going to be talking about that. I had this idea that I would put together this montage. I thought, let's just go live. And if folks come on and discuss, they come on and discuss. So if you haven't seen Robert Waters, the live show I did on Sunday, I'll reference that, but you will not have to have watched that to understand this. I'll circle it and come back together. This is really going to focus on the general, in general, and his 7 episodes or 7 issues, I guess they're not episodes, in specific. Hold on, I saw Trevor there. Hello, Trevor. So let me get that out. So Trevor, you know, I was teasing you when I asked if you still have your subscription to Girls Life, which is from Monarch. So that's what Monarch and the dots were in control of. So Monarch Avalon. I was researching some more on the dots as well. So I know Dot Senior passed away, I think in 2016. And Jackson, his son, I may try to get a hold of, but we'll see. He probably won't want to come on my show, but I'll at least reach out. I got off track. So on that note, if anybody watching is a former employee of Avalon Hill, big or small, or Victory Games. I've already talked to Mark Herman. He said he's willing to come on and talk about that again, but in more detail just on that. We talked about it briefly when I did a live show with him like a year and a half ago. Reach out to me. So you can get a hold of me. Probably the easiest way, go to Board Game Geek, and you can just look me up there. I'm Armed Medic. Or better yet, just put a comment in on this YouTube show and say, hey, you know, reach out to me. So we'll email each other, or I can give anybody a call. Here's some comments coming in, and then I'll circle right into the show. And this is going to be a meander, folks. This is a meander. This will not be like a tight show where I'm popping. This is going to be a meander. So let's see. We have Trevor said, I do have General and Strategy and Tactics magazine, but that was from a buddy. Vexed Fee? I don't know. What am I missing there? Oh my, I actually made it to a live before the last minute, maybe. Oh no, strap in. We'll be here at least an hour. I'm going to try to spend some time with my son a little bit, but that'll probably be an hour from now. Chief does a stealth stream. Yeah, I just threw it up there. I just popped on. I was actually sitting down. I started to try to film what I'm going to do here in video format so I could edit it and clean up the errors. And I said, nah, let's just go live. Not to mention, this is pretty extemporaneous anyway, but I'll come back. So after the show with Robert Waters, who is the managing editor for episodes 29-3, meaning it's halfway through that 29 volume, they did 6 a year, bi-monthly, to 30-3, so 7 different episodes. I had these out for the show just to kind of reference them as touchstones, and they worked great, brought back some memories. But before I put them back away, I started thumbing through them, and I ended up reading through all of them. I was intrigued and right back into the general, back into Avalon Hill, and back into like 94 I think, 1993, 94, maybe 95-ish. So it would have been 94. There's some, see, I'm all over the place. And I wanted to touchstone on some of that. So first, the general in context. It's an in-house, let me quit using that one or this one. It's an in-house magazine that just goes over the Avalon Hill games. They're not spending time talking about other publications or other games. In this set of 7, you will see where the computer games, so like 1993, and they do not have a date on them anywhere. 1993, there's computer games coverage going on in the back of the games, but it's still predominantly their board games. Waters comes in and writes a very interesting, welcome article. Yeah, okay, in the spring of 93, okay, so this is maybe 94. Gosh, I feel terrible here. I should know that. But in the spring of 93, he is in a game store and grabs Roadkill. Roadkill? Yeah, Roadkill. And finds the rules, Roadkill, not that well written. So he rewrites them, or at least the quick play rules, sends them into Avalon Hill, and a while later, Don Greenwood sends them back, and they're all marked up, saying, I agree with you on this point, you're totally wrong on this point, and this is why we did this for this point. And he had talked about maybe being employed there, and Don says, hey, how about you're a play tester? And he actually does some play testing on Breakout Normandy. So that's interesting in and of itself. It ends up being the issue that's pretty much all laid out, but he comes in and Robert takes over this. He writes about how they're doing, and he talks about they're going to do some new color things on here. He's going to write some articles about game theory, which there's one in here. And he's going to try some different things with humor, which will be funny, because not the humor, but people do not like the humor that ends up being in the game. And by the end of the 7th episode, it's gone. Also, with Robert leaving in the 7th episode, he's responding as the editor to some different articles or some different letters that came in. And he's always very respectful, but boy, does he just fire back. It was like really refreshing. I think it's kind of like when you run into a guy who's already ready to retire and could go now, and then somebody wants to come in and say something. You don't necessarily get the pleasant filter. You just get the straight up. Here's what it is. Not rude, not angry, just bare bones. So spring of 93, I was a freshman in high school. Well, that's good. I was 23. No, I was 22. I think I was at Fort Sam Houston learning how to be a medic in the spring of 93. Might have been back home by then. So that's where I was. I was not reading the general. You also get a very, very interesting part here where Robert kind of reads the future. So obviously you could see what was coming then. And I'll read this one little portion here. See if I can find it real fast. Let's see. He talks about that being 3 hours. He has a deal where he's reaching out to gamers so that they will start playing with their own kids. Oh, here it is up here. The gavel must be passed. Make sure you're the one who passes it. For you new kids, so he's talking about playing games with like the younger folks. For your traditional war gamers out there, this is the perfect time to share your experience with the newer generation of gamers. So he's talking about making sure really that grognards aren't excluding this newer, younger generation. And then for the new kids out there, take a fresh look at a system. Put your youth into it, which is an interesting sentence. If you don't like our traditional war games, fine. There's other kinds, Acquire, Tyranno X, Republic of Rome, etc. Write the article. It'll get a fair chance, I promise. So he's also asking for younger gamers to write in articles, and he would review them. Very interesting, and kind of foreshadows what's going to be coming with, Catan is starting, will start to come across, if not about this time, 95-ish, if I remember right. Puerto Rico and those German games are coming across. So, and they definitely appealed to the non-war gamers. So it's an interesting aspect there. Let's see. He talks about the new look. So if you've seen the live show, he added in a lot of color. They worked on a different layout. He also references, and there's a little foreshadowing that I don't know what I had no idea when I got busy in 90 up, and I didn't play a lot of games, buy a lot of games, and I let my subscription do the general stop in, I think, 89. I had moved out on my own. I was trying to make ends meet. I was starting to work on my career in law enforcement. I was working security. I had a serious girlfriend, so I wasn't gaming. But you wonder, well, kind of from the live, he knew that maybe Avalon Hill was in its swan song. But it doesn't say that in so many words here. But he says, we are partnership. We are a partnership, you and I. We have a responsibility to this magazine and to this subculture we have proudly named wargaming. No doubt historical wargaming has lost ground, valuable ground, which is interesting. Again, I think this is 94. Abraham Lincoln once said, we must change our tactics or lose the game, end quote. We won't lose the game. We will together reclaim the hill and dispose the day. And then he quotes from Henry V, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For today, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. So he's standing and planting his flag. Robert Waters, thanks. It's an honor serving you. Now, what's so interesting is by the time you get to the 7th issue, he is no longer, Mr. Tucker is now running it. And you will actually see in the final notes, see where it is. There's a bunch of Avalon Con stuff, which is really cool. Thought I had it pegged. But he talks about how it's his last issue. Yeah. So he comes in and you were asked and you responded in issue 30-1, a small readership survey, and it talks about what people liked. And he liked it as well. They wanted, in the general, they wanted strategy and tactics, game variants, preview articles, and series replays. At the very bottom of the list is humor. So he had some humor coming in that never quite worked. Above that was history. They were doing some history articles. And I will go back. There's an article from a doctor that really rips him up on the history. But then he says, since this is my last issue as editor, I won't go into detail as to which of these I prefer, but he does say that the top 4 are also his 4. One is a happy note, with only an occasional exception, the top 4 types have and will remain the most featured articles in the magazine. This, I believe, will continue to be the case, as I'm sure the new editor will further what Avalon Hill has established through the continued publication of this magazine. To that end, I'd like to encourage everyone to offer your full support to the new editor, Stuart Tucker. Make him feel welcome and honored to be a part of the great brotherhood. Send him letters and, more importantly, articles. Give him a helping hand, and I'm sure he'll return the favor. His success, friends, is your success. So, in the midst of that, you actually see, the change of the guard that happens. Now, all was good. He went on to another job, started work for Talonsoft, and then is doing his own company. So there's a lot of neat things there. I want to talk about area here in a second. Let me see where the comments are. Trevor Just Waters' interview was awesome. Thanks. It was great. Kind of hearing him at the warehouse kind of in the backwoods area. And it's just him and Don Greenwood, and they're killing flies. And it used to have a lot more employees there, and he even had to go to the other place to do a lot of his work, the other place. I'm still piecing together kind of the structures as they went around. I think you had to go to the road on Hartford, if that's, or Hartford. It's on the back of this. Hold on. Yeah, Hartford Road in Baltimore. Side note, why not split the art? Ham tag. Why not split the art? Ham tag. Top 5 cover artists and top 5 games purchased based on cover art. Well, that's not a bad idea. We've been talking about top 5 topics, so that might work. First, we'll just do our top 5 covers. It's probably pretty close, but I'll talk to Judd. We'll see. Area. Let me see. I'm going to flip through here. This isn't the Maharaja. The Maharaja article is, or the magazine is fabulous. I can see why Robert said that was his favorite. It was, first of all, I want to know who this is. If anybody can tell me, this has got to be an employee. Oh, that's got to be an employee of Avalon Hill that they had put the shirt on. He does not look very happy, though. He's very dour in the face, like they said, Jimmy, we're paying you. Put the shirt on, go stand by the cinder brick wall. Turn around, I'll show the back of it. And I think you see him in a later one as well. So I would like to know exactly, not to mention the ad says wanted, tall guys, short guys, bald guys, guys with ponytails, short women, women with big guns, or just any Avalon Hill game player will proudly wear the Avalon Hill t-shirt and make a bold statement without saying a word. That makes me want to buy the shirt right now. So I love that. Great advertising. And then there's roadkill on the other side here. Come on, where's the area deal? So the area I'm looking for was, I'd forgotten all about it and I never got involved with it, but it's a ladder ranking system so that you could play by email and then turn your scores in. There it is. This isn't the one I wanted to reference yet, but Glenn Petrowski was running this in conjunction with Avalon Hill. Now, I'm going to read a pretty provocative ad for this and what must be the next issue, but I'll talk about what happens at the same time. There is a Watergate-style break-in to the Avalon Hill offices or office. I'll read that one as well. Don Greenwood references that in the back of a magazine here. And a computer is stolen and backup tapes that are next to it. So this is back when you back up, it was like a big cassette tape. I remember seeing a few of them around, was also stolen. Yeah, they're referencing Avalon Con 94 here, which is another neat thing. And I'll show some pictures from this. Here's the area news. Is this the one? Yes, this is the one I want to read. So in this, Glenn is writing, and first says, quite a number of you have written to ask what direction the area rating system will take in the future. Now, right below this is a sub-article that says, what is area? So for those of you not familiar with our rating system, here's a brief overview. Area, all capped, is short for the Avalon Reliability, Experience, and Ability Player Rating Service. Founded in 1974, so it's got some history to it. The service draws its name from the Avalon Hill Game Company, so that's before it was called just Avalon Hill, which originated it. Think of it basically as like a formal chess system so that you could be a ranked player. I won't go through and explain everything, but it goes through, hold on, Vexed. I've always had women with big guns and the muscle sense as my ultimate fantasy type, as I approve of that ad. Yeah, it hits at the nerd gamer perfectly. It's funny. It says for all sizes, shapes, and that you'll make a point. Well, other geeks, wargaming geeks, would be able to find you. Otherwise, nobody would know what Avalon Hill is. So the Avalon, or the area, which worked with different games like ASL, and what else did they have? Oh, ASL was the big one I kind of knew about. I never got into ASL. So think of it as a way to rank and get your points, but they had a very interesting end to this. Let's see. You can have a specific rating for every game. So if you pay more, you can even get a specific rating for each game rather than your overall. I don't know why you'd want a specific rating for a Don Greenwood game. They're poking fun at Don. But you may. Just kidding, but seriously. And then it says Michael McGrath is the current #1 area player in ASL with 2,273 points. Now look how they're going to try to wrap you in here to the area. As far as we're concerned, he's the best ASL player in the world. Hundreds of ASLers are trying to prove us wrong. I know there are more of you out there who play this game but aren't area members. Michael is standing on top of the hill laughing at you. He's basking in the glow of knowing he's the best. I think he needs to be taken down a few points. Gary Fortenberry has 2,159 points. He's trying. Mark Zimmerman has 2,110 points, is trying. Why aren't you trying? That is bold, humorous with a wink, but also in your face and gets that competitive spirit going. I just found that to be intriguing in regards to area and why you would want to be involved. Let's see. They then, Glenn talks about the direction and it goes into length on where it's going. And that's where he compares it to kind of, you know, if gaming's going to stay around. Let's see if I can find it real quick. As they talk about dumping the whole idea. It's a certain fact that without area or some similar common rating system, the hobby we currently share will pass from the scene. The games already collected will become relegated to the same status as Clue, Battleship, or Stratego, played occasionally to perk up interest in an evening with a friend or two, nothing more. And so there's this response about how, now I don't buy that. Now I still want to have Glenn on though. So Glenn, I'm not knocking you. And maybe you're right because wargaming seems to still be waning a little bit. Ron is in. How you doing, Ron? I'm going through the issues that Robert Waters worked on. I had him live. I then started reading these issues and got intrigued by many things. I was 19 when my subscription to the General lapsed. I let it lapse. I didn't play games for about a decade. And coming back, I'd purchased these to get my collection. I still wanted the full General, so I was just reading over them. And I don't think I'd really read these, if ever, probably perused them. But the area news was interesting. So it's pushing really hard for this ranked, you know, think if you're a ranked chess player and you pay for the ability to be in this system, and then the in your face, you know, why you've got to be a member part. Now that will lead to, and see if I can find it. I think it's in the second, it might be in this General issue here, which is fabulous. And I'll just ramble and you guys can talk amongst yourselves. There's some other things I'll try to find here too, because I literally just read all of these back to back and was like, wow, I need to talk about this on a show. But we're going to go to, oh, this is cool, by the way. Inside this magazine, there is, Robert apologizes because there's a little thing you can make a paper airplane for Flight Commander 2. It's literally just a foldable design paper so that you can make a paper airplane as an insert. And it couldn't be included in the prior issue, and people were upset by that, I think. Or it had slipped a few issues, but he got it in there. So let me look into this one, see if it's in here. But the paper airplane's in there. They couldn't fit it into the center of, this magazine, 30-1, because Avalon Con 95, there was a sign-up deal for Hunt Valley. So that's why that was there. Let me see if I can find the area deal where it talks. Is it in area? It may not be an area. Dawn comes on and talks about how there's a break-in. I think it's Dawn. There's a break-in to their offices. And yes, it's right here. And maybe it's Robert. No, this is Don. So Don writes the philosophy opening at the same time the bombing had happened in Oklahoma City. So he references that as well, and as a touchstone of the senseless act of violence that happened there, and pays it respect. And he spends some time on that. But then he comes to an issue that's just in reference to Avalon Hill. And it says, let's see. So he says, not in any regards to the devastation that happened in Oklahoma City, but to those of us who work at the Hill. On Sunday, April 23rd, Avalon Hill was the victim of a burglary in which a thief made off with a computer and an assortment of computer disks and tapes. While such larceny is sad enough, the real loss was not the hardware itself, but the information it and the miscellaneous backup tapes contained. Now, what an odd burglary. So I work in law enforcement. You get burglaries all the time. They're usually for money and property that can be stolen, car, work, supplies. We've had plumbing businesses get broken into, or electrical businesses, and they're stealing the copper. Lately, they've been going after catalytic converters because of the money inside. But in this case, they went after a computer, which seems odd and very, very Watergate-ish. So they also took the backup tapes. Our thief, probably knowing exactly what it was he was obtaining, had just made off with assorted records of the Avalon Hill Game Company. The mailing list of our customers was his target. Among our losses were the complete records for the area rating system. Industrial espionage may be viewed by some as an exaggeration. It goes on here. But the thief, let's see, but why else would our thief go to such pains to steal the backup tapes as well? It appears that our crook was no petty thief, but someone bent on vandalism of the worst kind. His mission was not just fulfillment of personal greed, but to cripple a company by destroying its ability to serve its customers. Now, they do say, fortunately, they still had hard copies, but not of everything. So, however, no such hard records for the thousands of area chits processed over the years exist. Therefore, unable to restore the system to full capacity, we have made the painful decision to shut down the area rating system. That is, the Avalon Reliability, Experience, and Ability Rating Service has been around for nearly 20 years. And it's basically gone at this point in time. Now, it's somewhat resurrected because Petrowski, Glenn, ends up piecing things together, making things work, and he and another gentleman who I'm forgetting the name of will take it over outside of Avalon Hill, which, knowing what we know now, Avalon Hill goes defunct and is sold in 98. It keeps that area rating system alive. I was able to find online that it was still going in 2018. I know nothing about it. So I reached out to them hoping to get a hold of them and to get a hold of Glenn in particular and talk about this and what he's been doing for the wargaming community for some time. But it'll tie back into Avalon Hill and the history of it. I kind of want to see how he got involved and what all went on. And I believe in the same article, Glenn talks about it in the area section, if I can find it. Here's the letters. There's some of those I want to go over too. But that's an interesting issue right there. Let me see what we got here. Computers were expensive in the mid-90s. Yeah, there's a couple of times where they talk about like a 386 in here and how some of these computer games will run on a 386. I think my parents had a 486. Hi, Chief Late, but here, way to go, Tom. This is a ramble, Tom, so you're not missing anything. Matter of fact, this could be extremely boring to most people, but I found it intriguing and felt like sharing it and doing an impromptu live and then trying to pull it all together. Like right now, there's nothing more entertaining than watching me thumb through an old issue of the General as I look for the area section. So one thing I did notice, now I know Robert had to piece things together in here, but it's not like the area section's always in a certain page. Sometimes it's near the front, sometimes it's near the back, but that's fine. The way I was reading it, that didn't matter. But as far as me referencing stuff, it's a little bit harder to find it. Maybe it's in the very next issue where the area references it. Maybe there's no reference to the area in here at all because of the theft. But I'm going to give it a couple pages turn and see. And there might have been something. Yeah, I don't see it in here, but that was huge. Just reading that and thinking of, I mean, really from a cop's perspective, who breaks into a business and steals a computer but takes the backup tapes? That definitely seems targeted. It doesn't seem like it's just for, the cost of the computer. That makes me very suspicious, and I would love to get hold of Dawn. I mean, are we, why? Who would do that? Is that, I don't know. I can't even imagine. So let's see. Politically correct. That's a buzzword right now. Oh, they're talking about the new world. I don't think it's there. Hello, Vorpal. I'm looking for, we just talked about how the Avalon Hill computers, there was a burglary. Someone broke in and stole a computer and the backup tapes, which they lost their mailing list, but they had hard copies. But more importantly, they lost all their data for tracking the area system. Here's some of the humor that gets nixed. Down for the count, wrestling specialty matches, and they've got these little humor things going on. Everybody kind of hated that. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So Robert talks about how he's getting rid of that. Let's see, come on. I love the fact that they have wrestling in here. This is great. I know I'm going to find it. Make sure you're talking. There we go. Let's see. Okay, yes. So again, Glenn Petrowski, those few individuals. The subject which I get the most letters about is, quote, oh no, this isn't it. This is conduct on becoming an adult. But this is also, I've had problems with the Euro gamers, not war gamers on this, but particularly concerning play-by-mail gamers. They were basically getting folks, a lot of complaints coming in on folks that were so concerned with winning their ladder games, the way you advertise it, how you want to win, that people were cheating or making it very unpleasant to play, and that's what this addresses here. I must have missed it, but I can tell you Glenn addresses the fact that he and another fellow are taking over the area control, which keeps it running. There was also another interesting thing here. The dots from Monarch Avalon bring in, see if you can see it. You can't. That is Tom Clancy. So they bring Tom Clancy onto their board, which was interesting. And they bring on a Helen Bentley, who's a 5-term Republican congresswoman. But let's see, former Maryland Congresswoman Helen Delch Bentley and best-selling author Tom Clancy have joined the board of directors on Monarch Avalon Incorporated. I wish I would have known that. I would have asked Robert about that. What does Vorpal say? Sounds exactly like a traveler mission called Scam. We need you to solve this cold case. Yes. Yes. So let me go into the realm. Hold on. We've got Vorpal. I've played enough role-playing games to recognize industrial espionage. Yes, that's what I was thinking. So let's go into the realm of complete fiction for a second. Complete fiction. Who would do that, first of all? Who would do that? So I don't know enough. I'm just now diving in. I don't want to offend anybody, but would it be the dots? Now, see, by saying that, of course, would they go back? So they're the owners of Monarch. And from what I understand, they were pretty tough on some of the Avalon Hill employees. I don't know if they would say that or if I'll ever get an employee on that will explain some more, but they were coming at it from a strictly business aspect. a business aspect. But would taking a computer from that had mailing lists, how would that help them? Or again, I'm making stuff up here, but I'm wondering, because the first thing in police work, and I would have to go back and talk to Dawn probably, because I want to know, was the building physically broken into, or was the computer just missing? If the place was broken into and only the computer was taken, I'm going to call BS on that. That's not what they would go for. Or if they did, it would be multiple computers and have nothing, no care for the tapes at all. So someone who knows where to go and what to grab. Most burglars wouldn't have even known what the tapes were, nor would they be worth their time. I'm telling you that right now. Back then, I was still doing security at a big mall in Denver, Southwest Plaza. And the computer might have been valuable as long as it was new, but even the keyboard and stuff, no. They would have just grabbed, not even the monitor, too heavy. They would have just grabbed the base and gone. But that wasn't what people were stealing then. So I'm wondering, though, what would be the purpose? I don't know enough yet. Obviously, I don't even want to speculate. Why would the dots do it? They wouldn't. I hope not. Why would somebody else? Would it be an employee? Yes. Usually it's an employee that's disgruntled and leaving, who's pissed off and says, you know what? I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to hurt them. And I know right where the stuff is, and I know how to hurt them. So I would rule out the dots. I don't even think they would care. I doubt they even knew what the area system was. But come on, Jackson Dots. Tell me I'm wrong. That's the son. The father's passed away. Start with profiling. No, what you try to do is just, that's such a specific theft. Someone would have to know which computer, and they would have that it's used for things like that. And if you're going to steal the tapes, you would have to know the tapes were even needed or necessary. So it's not a money theft at all. It is definitely an information theft. So could it be another company that wanted their mailing list? I doubt it. Not at this point in time. So I don't know. It sounds like disgruntled employee to me that said, you know what, I can hurt them by messing with their addresses and maybe this area gaming system that they're tracking. Ron says, start with profiling. Let's see. Tried to blame Illuminati on Avalon Hill. I'm sure they're involved somewhere, but probably back in the 70s. It seems obvious to me Steve Jackson hired some mercs to plant incriminating evidence. I like it. Nixon ordered it. Yes. I think Nixon was involved. And assuming we were all doing the same, playing computer history of the world, we had one player that expressed surprise when I complained about the die rolls. He would play the turn over and over again until he got a result he wanted. Wow. Number 2 on the ladder, of course. Maybe. Could be. Sounds exactly like the Traveler mission. Yes, we need you to solve this cold case. So that definitely had me intrigued as I read this. I was literally, my wife was like, what are you reading? Because I was going, what? I was like making noises and stuff. So trust me, I'll follow up on that. If I never get Don Greenwood, I would love to have him on. That'd be a big get if he was even willing to come on the screen and talk with me. Hopefully he will. I would love to ask him about that, if they ever resolved it or anything, what happened with that. If Robert sees this, I may even email Robert and say, hey, what do you know about that computer theft? I'll try to piece that together. So it sounds like disgruntled. If I was going to call it now, I'd say disgruntled employee, maybe recently fired or left. If it was broken into, they knew right where to go, grab it, and get out of there. That's what it sounds like to me. So I'm very intrigued, though. Was there forced entry? If there's no forced entry, ooh, now what's going on? It's an inside job by somebody that's still there. All right, let me see. I probably won't be able to find it. There was letters to the editor, and I'll go to the very last few issues, which are fun. I know where those are. There was one from a doctor that really rips. Oh, wait, here's this guy. Is this the same guy? Because now he's in color and he's wearing this shirt. That can't be the same guy, is it? Look at that, though. He's got the cat on there. Look at that. Let them know who you are. Any Avalon Hill game player will proudly wear this Avalon Hill t-shirt. I'll have to look. That might be the same guy, a little bit older. I need to know who that is. Who is the model for the t-shirts? Who is it? Oh, and here again, for those that didn't watch, that painting by Dietz shows, what is that, forgetting his name, von Stauffenberg or whatever, as he's planting the bomb to kill Hitler. It's a beautiful picture. I don't know where I would hang that. Dietz, Jim Dietz. I like Jim's airplane. I think he did some tank stuff too, but this is called In the Wolf's Lair. It was $250 back in the day. And Robert says that it was a little controversial. People did not like that. They didn't think Hitler should be shown like that. Okay. So I wouldn't have headed that one off if I would have seen it. I wouldn't have thought, oh, that's going to be controversial. Like the extra wrestling characters, that was a fun game. Yes. Yeah, the extra wrestling characters are cool. This one's got all the roadkill stuff in it too. So GMT's getting ready to put out their Apocalypse Road, which I'm hoping to get. And because of this article right here, the Gorilla, it's how to play 2-player in solitaire. I literally just ordered it off of BGG. So I wanted to pick up Gorilla, which I heard plays kind of interesting. Where is it? Here's some letters. Is this the Doctor? No. The letters to the editor are very interesting now that I've had Robert on. So, and seeing how he answered them, I will find that article. Roadkill was a great 2, yes. It was the letters. You know what I need to do? It's got to be listed here. Letters, yes. There's a smart move. Oh, let me do this. Look at this. Tell me 3. You can get 3 issues for $5. Look at this. You could go and then you could buy as many of them as you wanted. And before I go to the letters section under philosophy, this is another great article by Robert because he says, and this is where you feel like he knows he's gone. Now, this is volume 30, number 2. He puts together 30 number 3, but I've got a feeling he's put in an app here already, an application for some of the place, because he said I had intended for 30-1's philosophy to be commemorative discussion of the history of the magazine, 30 years of coverage. But then the April break-in occurred, so we're going back to that. And the other matters were more pressing. Now an extensive discussion seems a little too late. So I've delegated only a small portion of this philosophy to, quote, looking back. Somewhere down the road, we'll revisit our history and do it right. So that's interesting, kind of sad. This installment to the General marks my 6th issue. As managing editor, it has been a wonderful journey. See how you can kind of see and it feels like, I don't know, albeit bumpy from time to time. Occasionally, I look back and reflect on what I've done, and upon the reflection, on that reflection, consider what I would have done differently if I could do it all over again. There's an interesting song by Garth Brooks that I, as editor, can appreciate. Here an excerpt from that song. It's basically, I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. So that is interesting. I literally, as I was reading this thing, man, he's going to say bye right here. I have one more issue to read. Volume 30 of The General represents a wonderful moment in the hobby. The first issue, published in May 1964, began a dance that continues over 30 years later. And from this persistent waltz, so many other publications, professional and amateur, have joined the floor, determined to twist to a tune that's still being piped. That is beautiful alliteration. And through it all, the General remains the best known, most successful historical wargaming magazine in the history of the hobby. It's an honor to be among its editorial staff. On page 3 of this issue, you'll find an advertisement for the back issues of the General. I handpicked these issues myself. I believe they represent some of the finest Generals we've ever created, both in graphics and content. And then it goes on and it talks about giving, I could almost read this verbatim because it talks about the pictorial journey across a 30-year dance floor, the end of which is yet to be determined. Oh boy, it's getting close though. The page has its own agenda. It challenges us to remember our heritage. I've skipped way ahead here. And to remember that even in the midst of uncertainty, we can take comfort in the fact that something very important is still among us, shifting and moving across the floor like a Fred Astaire, light of foot, yet strong of heart. Yes, we have come a long ways. Now, he does say, is there another 30 years of this magazine? Any speculation on that would be impractical at best. Any yes statement on my part has little value, since the kind of answer would be viewed as overly optimistic and a little naive. However, all indications suggest, no, they don't, many more successful years ahead, the length of which, of course, is yet to be determined. I take great pride in being part of this dance and look forward to many, many more steps. And now, on to the other matters. Now, then it goes into Avalon Con 95 and some stuff that's coming up. But tell me that isn't unbelievable. That is just some great writing. And we know now that Avalon Hill ends and is sold by the Dots in 98. I think it's sold for $6 million, if I remember. Let's see. They talked about what's coming. That's all fine. Avalon Con 95, that was June of 95 is when I start with the police department. And I believe Avalon Con 95 runs from July 31st through August 3rd, 96. I was literally in the police academy at that time. So interesting. But that is some great writing. You hear there's a bit of sadness, I think, in there. And you've got the break-in is referenced there again. The fact that he was going to go into the 30 years of history, but he won't now. So I don't know, a lot of stuff there. I just found that the alliteration there is fabulous. I did skip some parts. That wasn't a direct reading. And again, that's volume 30, number 2, with the Maharaja cover. And he also does point out that in this one, he breaks a rule, and I think at least half of all the stories in here are for Maharaja. I think they used to parse them a little bit more. Maybe it's a little over half. Let's see. Hello from Sweden. Hello. Is it Mike646? Uva says it had a niche audience and didn't last long, unfortunately. Let me see what I got stats for Variable Blade out of that magazine. Anyone remember Space Gamer? Okay, sorry. Which issue is that on the Gorilla Solitaire? Boy, howdy. Hold on. Man, now I've got them all up in my hands, and I can't remember which one had Gorilla Solitaire. Oh, you know what it was? It was the game one. It was the one that deals with card games, which is going to be here. Yep, everything in here was Gorilla Solitaire. Yeah, there it is. So that's going to be 29.6 had Gorilla Solitaire in it, and 2-player. So it's mostly playing both sides and how you play all your stuff first before you start resolving different things. Kind of what a lot of people do now when they play multiplayer solitaire. Let's see, what did I miss here? Let me back up. Dragon Magazine, Central American Style Government versus Guerrillas, right. Let's see, I had a subscription to Mad, that's good. The General died in the middle of my subscription. Still waiting for my final issues. Oh, that's too bad, Derek. That is too bad. Yeah, it went glossy, and then I think it went. I think they only put them out quarterly for a while. Let's see. My best sci-fi ideas came from old heavy metal magazines. Wow, Vorpal, cool. Dan, the board game man, love it. Love that name. Hi, Bart. Hey, buddy. Oh, Magnus. Okay, Mike, it's not Magnus, it's Magnus. Okay, Magnus, sweet. By the way, I don't want to get political at all, but Magnus, I don't know if you appreciate it or not, but I was happy to see how Sweden, I think you said Sweden, right, dealt with the COVID. Let me go see. Where did you say? Dang it, now I can't thumb back up. I'm doing too many things, Magnus. I think you said Sweden. If you said Denmark, I apologize. That's me being a dumb American. No, you did say Denmark, and Denmark is who I wanted to reference. Now I just sound like a total idiot, Magnus. I apologize. But what I love, even in the states, is that different states will have slightly different rules. Like Nevada has all the legalized gambling, and then all the other states were like, you know what? That's actually not so bad, and it's working for them. Let's do it. So we can do these different, experiments in different states. That's how it should be. And I'm not even talking political. I'm just saying let different states do their different things, and then we should be able to distill what works and what doesn't. Perfect. And I love what Sweden, thank you, what Sweden's doing with COVID. They're saying social distance, no groups bigger than 50. We're not canceling school. We're not shutting businesses down. Now, I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent. What I liked was that it was different, not indifferent, but different, because now we can look and say, how did that work? How did that work? That's all I'm saying. Sorry, sidebar. Vorpal says, I like Air Force, Dauntless, Avalon Hill, anything about those games. Not in here. Those would go back further. Denmark is close enough. But Denmark is close enough. Sweden, gosh darn. Now he said Sweden. Dude, maybe I need some more coffee. You're flat out wrote Sweden there, and now I'm saying Denmark. And at least you're laughing. Thank you. Hello. I know that was. Sorry. So, Magnus, sorry. Thank you. Enough said. All right. Let's see. I think it is in here. Let me see if I can find the letters, because there's a letter from a doctor that's really ripping Robert on his history, page 19, on his history articles that are in here. And his response is pretty good. And then I'll go to one of his letters that are near the end. See, yep, here it is. Because it's Gerald Prokopakis, PhD, Texas. Why history? As a professional historian, I appreciate the spirit that has moved the general to begin including historical pieces along with the usual game-related articles. While your attempt to expose the readership to history is laudable, I hope you will remember your policy and refrain from running historical articles in the future for two reasons. So, sounds very reasonable. One, there are many publications, both popular and scholarly, that are filled with nothing but history. For American history alone, you can read Civil War Times Illustrated, the American Historical Review, the Journal of American History, American Heritage, to name just a few, and the publications of the Historical Society of the town and country where you live. There are hundreds more. Now, I agree with this point. He's basically saying if you want history, you can go get top quality history stuff in a bigger, more contextual format. In contrast, there are only a handful of magazines dealing with games and only one focused on Avalon Hill games. I've been playing war games for 25 years and have long enjoyed the opportunity to take a break from serious history by playing your games and reading about them in the general. The last thing I want to see here as a gamer is a reprint of a mediocre amateur history article that is already available elsewhere. Whoo! That's just point one. Two, bad history is worse than no history at all. The article on Lafayette in 29-2 was a piece of poorly written, quote, gee whiz, unquote, pop history that explained nothing. The article about Pearl Harbor in 29-5 was a classic example of special pleading written by a Navy lawyer that was amusing for its logical inconsistencies, but misleading in its pretense of objectivity. There is much better material on both those topics easily available at any public library. As the large portion of your readership that cares about history surely already knows, for such readers, a good, quote, suggested reading list is much more valuable. As for those who don't care for the subject, exposure to second-rate history is not likely to change their minds. The General does a splendid job of covering Avalon Hill games. No other publication even tries. The General is not particularly good at publishing history, while many, many others are. Always reinforce success, not failure. Whoo! First of all, I actually agree. And it was written so well. But boy, is that in there. And it was printed. So kudos to Robert for printing that up. But I like his response as well. Now, that being said, I agree with the doc. You can find the history you want. And I love on certain articles, there is references to further reading. That's the way to do it. You know, I'm reading Black Thursday right now as I'm doing the B-17 playthroughs. That got me re-intrigued, and I never read that. I've read a lot of books on the 8th Air Force. I think it's the Mighty Eighth. But I had not read Black Thursday. So that is exactly how I do it. I'll go read the book and get the deep dive. I'll come back to some of the comments in a second. Let's see. Gerald, for every negative comment we receive about historical articles, we receive a positive comment. What do we do? Those history articles you cite, so this is Robert talking, that you cite, oh my goodness, I lost it, as, quote, second rate, have been some of the most popular articles in recent times. As I get an alert. My question to you and to the readership is this. Why are poor history articles any more second rate or offensive than the historical information that's been used to support gaming articles in the General for years? Count on your fingers and toes the number of articles from all the years of the General that have begun with some historical discourse about what Hitler was thinking or what the state of the German military during World War II, or about the state of the German military during World War II. I assure you, you'll run out of fingers and toes before you run out of articles. So it goes on. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll jump ahead here. Do you find this kind of historical discourse second rate or gee whiz? You should, because I do, but I shouldn't skip that part. Okay, that's fine. Let's see. For the most part, quote, amateur, end quote, historians, and just about every historical, quote, truth they state is probably questionable. So in other words, the folks writing the articles. So if I'm going to prevent second-rate history from entering the magazine, I'm going to have to reject almost every article that comes across my desk. Pretty soon, I'll have no articles to print at all. Dr., and I'm going to butcher his name, Prokopowicz, the jury is still out on whether historical articles have a place in the General. But I do thank you for your candor and for sharing your professional opinion about the state of affairs of this magazine. If I received more thoughtful letters like yours, perhaps A.H., Avalon Hill, would be able to make better choices. R.W., Robert Waters. Love that. So I thought his points were great. Again, I didn't want to read everything verbatim, but he counterpoints and kind of lets him know, hey, this is why these articles are going in. This Maharaja magazine was good. It's got a lot of playthroughs. Kind of make me want to get the game, but I don't have Britannica either, so I'm probably not going to get it. I did get Gorilla, like I told you. Magnus says I can recommend the Regensburg Schweinfurt raid by Martin Middlebrook. That sounds interesting. Yeah, right now I'm in the plane kind of getting their perspective. I hear there's some different things, even from the German perspective, on how the raid could have devastated them if it had been done certain ways. I'm not sure what Martin Middlebrook brings, but thank you. I will look back in the comments, and I may dive deeper. I'm doing these playthroughs of B-17 Queen of the Skies, so reading Black Thursday really put me back in the plane. I'll talk more about that in a little bit if we want. Let's see what I maybe missed. Let's see. But historicals have uneven forces. Oh, sorry. Had some Avalon Hill games, misplaying them, but Vassal modules got the fun back. What I took away from that, rules are for lawyers, typical history professor. He had there was some history articles that were being published, and that's one of the things that Robert wanted to do. So I get his point, though, that there are plenty of history publications that probably are more able to vet the writing, maybe. And the general is designed around the games, and I don't mind them being a touchstone to the history, but I'm not sure I'd want the history articles themselves there. I don't know. It was a good discussion. I mean, I was literally, it's like I kept thinking, man, I wish I could subscribe to this now. Come back, General. Come back. Chief, have you even been up in a B-17? Almost. I passed on a flight at $150 because I had to get to work. And they maybe were giving me a deal because I went an hour and a half early to a flight line to go check out a B-17 before I went to work, so I was in uniform. I obviously could not go up. Now, my wife was looking at it, but I think it was like $700. We have the B-29 Dock. I literally saw it flying over on the 4th of July. It flies right over my house all the time. You can go up in that, but it's like $1,200. I will admit I saw that B-17 crash on landing. They lost an engine. And the pilot came in short, and he went off into the grass, and it was so heavy that it buried in and spun off and went into a service building, caught fire, and I think 3 or 4 people died on that. I was thinking, I don't know. And then I was talking to my stepdad, is he 88 now? I think he's 88, 87. He was he didn't go over in Korea, but he learned he was radar guy in the Navy, and then he ended up with the FAA, and he was an investigator for the FAA. And he is also a pilot, was a pilot, didn't fly anymore. I asked him about that, and he said he looked at it. Oh, obviously not the official records, but he said one thing different with pilots today to pilots that flew during World War II is, one, lots more experience is what they had. Because I said, man, it's got 4 engines. I know from my reading and my gameplay, you can bring a plane in with 3. He said what he probably did was didn't boost the power the right way, and that's why he ended up coming in short. He said it's a different feeling. He'd flown a few multi-engine planes, and he said that's probably why it came up a little short, whereas someone that was in combat would have known, bring up X, Y, Z and even out your power. And who knows? Vorpal says, my uncle was B-17 pilot. The war ended 2 weeks before he was scheduled to go to England. Wow. Goodness. Yeah, I talked to a pilot, every time B-17's in town, I go look at it. And he was a pilot, this is years ago, and he said that he never saw a German fighter. He was flying late 44, but he said the flak was brutal and scared the hell out of you. My father was a crewman on the USS Tang. Wow. Vorpal bite. Goodness. I took my dad a couple of years ago. Way to go, Trevor. That is cool. Vorpal says historical articles have a place in the general, certain historical article writers, not so much. Okay, I can see that. Awful hard to vet, I would imagine. Magnus says, I can recommend the Regensburg Schweinfurt raid. Sorry, rereading that. I thought maybe I missed something. Trevor, my grandfather was a Catalina pilot in World War II. Wow, in the Bahamas. Goodness. So, I've been on an hour. Let me go to the very last. Well, I read his Swan Song comments, but I think he had something in the letters, if I remember right, that was hilarious because it's his last article. So he's just letting her rip. 18, I think it's in here. Let me see. It's either going to be this one or the one before where he must have known he was gone. But this one he put together. Here's the letters. It's either letters or comments. I think it was just comments. Who reads this rag anyway? Yeah, this has got to be it. So let's see. There was a comment here from Garth Gurmond in Virginia. But this is, no, that's going to be a different Robert. Shoot. Oh, come on. I'm probably going to miss it now. Let's see. If it wasn't in letters, it was in Infiltrator's Report, I think, page 63. I should have put sticky notes on everything. Oh, I wanted to show this. I love this. So this is all the guys that got wood. Pun intended, of course. Avalon Con 1995. These are the champions. So when you win the plaque, your name's on it for the type of game, and that means you got wood in that game. So, and who got B-17 that year? Paul Reisner. I think Paul had won multiple times. They also did a cool thing where they included the junior kids who won as well and gave them a write-up. And I loved what they were doing with kids early on. Oh, come on. Well, it said 68, right? I guess this is just where he signs off. So I'll probably not be able to find it. 30 number 2 maybe. See if it's in the Infiltrator's Report here. I see a whiskey question. Magnus, I can also recommend Centauri Hibiki Harmony whiskey. Hold on. I think I got that, brother. You don't need to recommend it because I've been drinking on it. Boom, Hibiki. Look at that. This one's got a lot of honeys in it. The Japanese Harmony. It's funny you said that. See what I can do? You got to go watch the whiskey show. The whiskey show. I'm going to pour a little bit of Harmony. It is good. Bart, do you have all the generals? You know what? I don't have some of the early ones. I couldn't get a hold of them. I forget. I go back to like 78, maybe. I'd have to go look. I wish. I think I got all of them up till when they shut down in 98. Boy, that is good, Magnus. Does the general have a DVD collection? No, there's a guy that does like he scanned them himself, and you could do that if you want. Let me see. Infiltrator's Report is 63. Let me just see if it's in here. It was a pretty decent comment, but I thought it was in the letters. So I'm missing it. I can't find it, but it was kind of him just firing back on some of the topics. And when I read that, of course, I'm knowing that he's gone, that he knows he's gone. That's why I thought it was in that very last episode. And where he knew he was going to be firing back a few times. I'll do one more check under letters 18 here just to make sure I don't miss it. Well, it said 18. That's opponents. There we go. Nope, I think I'm missing that there. So we won't spend too much time on that. I've got a Hibiki in front of me now. Let's see. Uva. There is an archive for them online. Excellent. I think I may have seen that and read some of those old ones. So I want a PDF of Traveler D&D so I can carry them on my iPad. You're way ahead of me, my friend. Thanks, Magnus. Well, if you've seen Scotch Test Dummies, you see we get all kinds of stuff. I think a fan might have even sent us that Hibiki. So, all right, it's 5:16. My spouse may even be home, so I better go soon. Anybody got any general questions? I know this was a bit of a ramble, but I can tell you if you've got the general laying around somewhere in a carton somewhere in a tub, pull them out. Highly entertaining. Now, it definitely helped that having now met Robert and had him on the show and talking to him and, getting his perspective. It brought things to life, but his writing there was so good. When he talks about the dance, and everything, it was just, I really, I was like, wow, I loved his writing. No enemies here. Chin Chin. Bart, thanks for the show. What are you talking about, Danny Boy? That's Danny Boy coming on there. Prost, Solancha, to Uva. What is your very favorite general article? All mine go back to volume 20. I forget which one. B-17's in there. I just loved all the articles on B-17. It was fabulous. Did they do, I think they had something with Ambush as well, didn't they? Surely they had something with Ambush on there, but I think they did, because they had the reverse missions with the Fallschirmjäger, I think. When is your next B-17 mission? Do you stream it? I do not stream it. I thought that I might be able to stream it, but what I'm able to clean up is like if I'll go sit there and go, or the doorbell rings or something, so I'll just go edit, cut that out. Streaming it would be faster. I think as I get better, I've had a couple, I've missed FW190 timing the number of shell hits by 1.5. I missed that. Someone brought up in the comments, and I believe they're right, that they think I'm using a variant, and it's just a mistake on my end. I'm re-rolling for the fighter cover. Well, I'll know the fighter cover is say fair, but on successive waves, I was re-rolling to see what I would get, but you do that roll once. So if you have fair and you get a 6, you don't have to re-roll it for every successive wave. You just have to look in the parentheses for what the effect is successive. That is correct. As a kid, I re-rolled every time to see where it was. I think it made it a little more exciting for me. So I'm going to try to follow the rules. So it kind of was my own homemade variant. Yeah, I know Ambush was Victory Games, but they would cover Victory Games in Avalon. No, did they have their own Breakout? Didn't they have their own Victory Games magazine that went like 7 issues? I think they did. You were the moderator. Okay. Charles Latoya, there is a DVD out there, not sure on quality, but no way currently to read off files. There is an internet site. I have to find it. I'll post in the commentary. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Vorpal, your final word in your game, rules or for lawyers? Sure. Yeah. Yeah, but when I put it out online, I kind of want it to, I don't want it to be too crazy. I may stick with rolling it every time. I get both sides of it. The rolling of it keeps me kind of, what's going to happen? Are the fighter covers going to get rid of them or not? However, the rules part is if I rolled a 1 and that sucks, am I then kind of cheating to get rid of successive waves and improve? I don't know. Half of it is I think I used to just forget, so I would re-roll it, make sure to say, what did I have? I need to make a little cheat sheet note or something. Didn't you learn anything for that long spiel you read to us? Yeah, I got it. So we'll have to see. I could see both points. And that long spiel I read to you, I actually kind of agreed with what the doc was saying there. So let's see. Let me pop up, make sure I didn't miss anything. Trevor, general question. Who's your least favorite Canadian? And why is it not Dan? Hashtag love Dan. Man, Dan is hilarious. He'll send me pictures of him wearing a German World War II helmet. And he's always pointing at me like he's Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. At least that's the voice I put to Dan when he sends me those. So I've already flown the B-17 mission, but I do need to edit it. That would be the nice part about streaming is there's no editing. But I got to tell you, those missions can run 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how crazy they get. And with kids and my job inside the job, I'm one of the Fraternal Order Police reps. I get calls all the time. So the recording allows me to pause it. The visual quality is better. It's 1080p. It's actually could be up to 4K, but 1080p goes out. And so I'll continue to record it for now. It gives me the time to edit it and get things looking good at my leisure. Vorpal, it's only business. They paid for a second chance. You are not cheating. They paid you for a second chance. Sure. I'm with you. So, I mean, that's what I do. Xanth, the radio operator, he nailed an FW-190. Now, he ended up with 3 kills. Sorry to spoil it if you haven't seen that episode yet. Great episode. A radio guy getting 3 kills. But one of them was on an FW-190. Solid hit. But I rolled a 5, and I didn't factor in the armor that the 190 has. It should have minused his roll because it's a single 50. And it should have been -2. Fighter breaks off after attack. Of course, I didn't catch it until post. But that allows me to put a little note up there saying, hey, obviously I missed that rule. And we're going to say that he hit him in the windscreen and got him. So I want a B-29 version over North Korea. Well, they have a B-29 version over North Korea. It's fighting off MiGs. It's called, it's from the Steve Dixon. So he did B-29 and then he does, it's like an add-on. And sure enough, there's MiG-15 coming at it, and they had to quit flying the B-29 because it got chewed up. So that's out there, brother. Isn't there supposed to be a Korean expansion for Super Fortress B-29? Yeah, there is. I can't remember what it's called, but it's there. I haven't played it. I've seen it. All right, any other questions, and then I'll sign off because we're at an hour 16. Does anybody want to make fun of Danny Boy? Just kidding, Danny. How about this shirt? The blue is terrible. I never wear it because the blue makes me look like a small child. But it's Battleship, but it's got like the Millennium Falcon, and it's got battle. The Galactica is in here, and you can't even see all of them. It's got a Star Destroyer, so it's awesome. But the blue is terrible. This would have been great on black. Would have been great on black. Hell over Korea. That's it. Hell over Korea. That 37 millimeter cannon has to be devastating. Yeah, I would imagine. Thanks, Magnus. Lesson for today: rules are for lawyers or doctors. All right, guys, I'm going to end it. Thanks for joining. Boom. Love going live. I like these virtual blog kind of things. I just enjoy it. I was literally starting to try to film this as a big segment, and I thought, nah, let's just go live. I know I'm not going to be able to find everything, but I did a pretty good job. Go back and read some of these. It'll not only transport you back in time, there's some great writing in here. This set of 7 by Robert is phenomenal. I'm telling you. So, all right, let's see. I'll read them. Magnus says, no, not a small child, more like a Smurf. There you go. And Vorpal, happy day. All right, see you guys. Signing off. I'll get more stuff out later, getting ready to go back to work. Boom. Ending it now. Thanks, Bart. Enjoyed your company today. Thanks, Ian. Thank you very much. And Vorpal, slap the corona off your face.